It was 1995. We had been on the island of Occidental Mindoro for about 8 months. And we were living in a kubo, a little thatched roof hut. And I don't know about you, but I haven't found them to be very leak-proof. We were having a bagyo, and at least down there we call it Shem na Shem, 9 days of rain followed by 9 days of rain. And I was tired of getting wet. Is it raining a lot? Should I back off, or how about if I try one of these? Testing 1, 2, okay. Ringing gone? Anyway, we'll go on. We had a visit from the adjutant director's wife and kids that wanted to come see what real missionaries live like. So we were really packed into this little hut. And of course, during the rain, I was trying to build a house because the owner of the hut was coming back. And all in all, I was very tired of getting wet. I don't know about how they do it now, but back then, AFM paid us 4 times a year. By the way, Mila, if you want to develop budgets in somebody, pay them 4 times a year. And when you run out of money, you just lose some weight. Okay? We were down to about half a kilo of rice, and it was time to go to the one bank on the island that had wire transfers, and that was about 5 hours away. No Jeeps were running, the bus wasn't running because of the bagyo. We had just a little bit of food left, and I knew that I would have to go in the rain down to the bank to get our money for the quarter. Well, I was complaining to my wife, and the adjutant director heard. Now, what I was complaining about was we have a jeepney. We had a jeepney. And for those of you who have never driven a jeepney, I'll just kind of help you along. It has a windshield that pops out. And when it's out, you get lots of air, but you get lots of rain. And when you close it, you still get lots of rain because it comes around the side. And it doesn't have any doors, just little tiny ones, and it has a curtain that hangs down. And so no matter how you tie it or zip it or snap it, water gets in the side. And the big thing to watch out for is when the buses and the jeepneys come the other direction, you watch out for what I call BBs, big blasts of water. It just drenched you. Well, I was complaining about this to my wife, and she said, the adjutant director's wife said, well, I have a brand new FX here. Why don't you take it? And I thought, ooh, real windshield wipers, air conditioning. I think I'll take you up on it. So I started out in this new Tamaraw FX to San Jose, about 5 hours away. I got about halfway there, and they were working on the road, and I could see a nice stretch of concrete out there, and on this side was some very big mud puddles, very deep mud puddles. And on this side was a nice stretch of gravel. And I thought, those look pretty deep, and this is a nice broad place. I think I'll probably go that way. Broad is the way that leads to destruction. That's what the Bible says. Well, I went about halfway, and I realized that the gravel was very loose, and I began to sink, and I gunned it, and I gunned it, and I sank lower and lower until we were stuck. Well, then I had to get out in the rain, no shovel. I used my hands, tried to scrape some gravel away from the wheels and the differential, and I would go forward maybe a little bit. till eventually we sunk down to the running boards. In fact, the running boards were a little under the gravel, and I didn't know what to do. There was nobody around. There's no buses, there's no jeepneys, there's no houses. I'm just stuck there in the middle of a rainstorm. By that time, of course, I was soaked from shoveling the gravel with my arms. I just sat down, leaned against the van, and I started praying. And I said, Lord, you know we need the money. You know I need to get to the bank. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt this person's brand new FX. And I'm sitting there praying, leaning against the van, and I hear a voice right beside me, and he says in perfect English, do you need any help? And I open my eyes, and there's a man standing there. I still can't tell you today if he's an angel or not. I don't know. If he is, he spoke Tagalog, so that can give you a hint. Anyway, he said, would you like me to pull you out? I said, well, do you have a chain, or do you have rope or anything? Oh, of course. And he went behind the seat of his pickup truck, 4x4, which is very rare back then, pulled out a big length of chain, and within minutes I was on the other side of the road construction. And then he got this real patient look in his eye, and he said, son, the ruts are there for a reason. He said, that means lots of trucks and lots of jeepneys and buses have gone through those ruts and have packed the dirt down until it's solid. It may look bad, but it's solid. He said, if you follow in the ruts, you'll be fine. I started thinking. I followed the ruts the rest of the way, got my money, drove in the ruts all the way back with no problem. But I think I learned a lesson, and it's something that Paul also talked about in Hebrews 12. He says, so we're surrounded by such a crowd of witnesses, referring to all these people who have either died for their faith, who are mighty in faith. And he talks about, since we're surrounded by all these witnesses, we should take courage and press forward. I think this is good to have a celebration every 20 years where we can take the chance, or we can take the time to look at those that have gone before us, that have left tracks, so to speak, in the sands of time. And we can look and get encouragement from those that have gone. Your PFM missionaries who have gone, some have even given their lives. It's good to go back and look at those and then kind of refocus, help us refocus and continue on pressing, fighting the good fight. So I'm glad you're having this celebration. And I think there's a lesson. The first point is, follow in the ruts. Jesus has left tracks in the sand of time. Lots of prophets have left tracks in the sand of time. We need to follow in the ruts. Okay. Jump forward 3 years. This time, I bought a Honda 125. I was tired of having flats, and I asked a friend in the States to send me a little tire kit. This time I thought, I'm not gonna have a flat. I'm gonna go zipping down there. I'm gonna get our money, gonna zip back. No problem. I had a little air pump. I had the wrenches to take the wheels off. I was set. I'm coming back, got down, no problem. Coming back, it was the most desolate part of the island. In fact, there was lots of robberies there because there's nothing around. And here I have a backpack full of money. And I felt that familiar, like the motorcycle does when it has a flat tire. But this time I was even happy. I said, I'll pull over here in the shade of a tree, and I got out my little kit, and I took the wheel off, and I pulled the tire out, and I got the tube out, and there was a rip in it about that long. And I thought, my little patches are not going to do that. I had to put it all back together again, and there I was pushing this bike I was looking at probably 30 kilometers. I'm walking along, mumbling, complaining. Here comes a bus. Doesn't even stop and look. Here comes a Jeep. Doesn't stop and look. They kind of laugh and keep on going. I push. And then I heard, ding, 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 ding. And here was a little tri-bike coming along. And I said, hey, any way you think we could kind of carry this thing into Sublime? And he kind of scratched his head and he looks around and he goes, well, I don't know. He said, you got anything to hang on to it? Well, I had 2 straps in my backpack, and he had a little bit of rope. And Filipinos can make anything out of anything. And there was some vines, and by the side of the road, we ripped those out, and then it took 2 of us to lift it up he had kind of a little rack on the back. We lifted it up and tied the thing on with the vines, and you know what happened. The tri-bike went straight up, just like an overloaded donkey, that's pleading for help. Well, it took 2 of us to pull the tri-bike back down, and I wound up kind of sitting on the roof, half on, half out, to get enough weight in the front to make it. I got a question for you. Which tire of a bike is more important, the front or the back? No one has a response. Which part of a pair of scissors is more important, the top or the bottom? Which leg is more important to you, the right one or the left one? Well, the answer to these is both of them are required, right? It's the exact same thing in missions. You can have a missionary out there in the field working with the people, but if he doesn't have anything to eat, he's not going to be able to stay there. It takes a sponsor to continue to keep him in the field. Both are equally important, right? You can't have one without the other. We can have a sponsor, but if he has nothing to sponsor, it's not going to help. We can have a missionary with no sponsor, and that's not going to help. It takes 2 things. It takes a sponsor and a missionary. Number 3. All talks have 3 points. That's what my dad told me. This time we were going to Mamburao the opposite direction. We had a new Jeep. It was a 12-passenger Jeep, and our record was 98 people. I was tempted to throw a couple of kids on there just to make the record of 100, but anyway, 98 people. But this day we had about 65. We're heading hot, dry, no rain, heading north to Mamburao, driving along, and all of a sudden, if you know what a jeepney kind of looks like, the roof comes down, then you got your windshield, and a lot of times people will put a rear view mirror that goes across the whole front of the Jeep. So it kind of had a little triangular space behind there. I'm driving along, and all of a sudden, a snake came out, and he put his head right here, about that far away. I don't like snakes, and this one was poisonous, very poisonous. Well, I slammed on the brakes, and we were skidding, all four wheels locked up. We're skidding down the road, and I'm shouting snake, and the people in the back are shouting snake. And the snake decided to come a little closer. And I hate to admit it, but I put the thing in neutral and dived out the door. And it went about, maybe 10 meters further before it stopped. But I'll never forget, I rolled over on the ground, looked back at the Jeep, and here's these 60 people that are jumping off, like they're diving through the windows, they're falling off the roof, they're streaming out of the back. It looked like fleas popping off a dog. And within seconds, there was no more people in there. Well, we went back, and I got a big screwdriver, and we chased it all over the place. Finally got it and killed it. But I was impressed by how quickly we all moved. What would happen? The reason why we were quickly is because we wanted to save our skins, right? We didn't want to deal with the snake. What would happen if we were as quick to do what God wants us to do, as in missions or giving, as we were getting off that Jeep? I think that if we were motivated enough, we could be in the kingdom right now, don't you think? But it's so easy to get complacent, so easy to just take it easy. Let's not get out of our comfort zone. Let's just, life isn't that bad. We'll get along. And we just kind of keep going and going and going in the same rut that we were before. But I think that if we were to take it as seriously as we take our lives, we could get the work done and be in the kingdom. And that's what I'd like to leave with you tonight. Honor those who have gone before you. These missionaries up here that we heard earlier, we should be honoring them. They have put their lives on the line for the gospel, and they deserve our respect and our honor. Follow in the tracks of those that have gone before us. It takes two to make it work. It takes a donor, it takes a missionary. And 3, it takes motivation to get the job done. If you can remember those 3 things, I think we would be in the kingdom a lot sooner. Thank you.